Welcome to Furious Fiction. I'm Jules Graham, and with me is Mark Mustin. And Mark, who do we have today?
We have Margaret Wrinkle. She's the author of Wash, which is this wonderful novel that has just come out in the last year. So Margaret, welcome. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to tell you on Wash, I listened to the audio tape of this book. And it was very interesting because, you know, there's multiple characters or points of view in Wash, and the way they did it in the audio tape, there's different, actors that are doing the voices. So at first it takes a little while to get used to, but once you do, it's really effective. And have you listened to the audio tape of your book? I was just curious.
Well, I did listen to it just to make sure that a lot of the Southern idioms and expressions and things were said correctly. I think it's hard for every writer to listen to people reading their book that they didn't choose. I mean, I think it's great, it's fine, but it's a very strange experience because obviously I hear the character that I created's voice.
Right.
So, yeah.
And you're a filmmaker, firstly, and this was your first novel. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And I understand that it was difficult. You said, this was a quote, I think, you said it's difficult sometimes for people to talk on camera about race. So was
Right.
it difficult for you to, get your research?
No, the reason I said that was because we made a documentary about race. I've been involved in race reconciliation in Birmingham, which is my hometown, for years, and we did a documentary about race, and I knew that that medium was limited because people could only go so far in telling the truth about race on camera, which is why I knew I was going to have to write something that would get at the whole truth of what I knew. So that's why I sort of backed into writing from being a filmmaker.
Well, backing up even a little bit, I mean, how did you come to write this book? What led you to Wash?
Well, like I said, I'd been involved in race reconciliation in Birmingham, and after years of that, I realized that what's happening now, in order to understand what's happening now, we're going to have to go back to slavery and the patterns that were laid down during slavery, and that's when I stumbled across a rumor that an ancestor of mine might have been involved in the breeding of enslaved people. I never found any proof of that allegation. Or much proof of the practice at all, but once I knew that it had happened, I felt it needed to be explored, so I created a fictional world to answer all the questions that I had for myself. So that's where the book came from.
Was there a Wash? I mean, somebody that was sort of brokered out to be sire children for profit?
Well, I mean, that happened, and the men who did that work were called traveling Negroes. And it's been hotly debated by historians. Black historians say it happened, white historians say it didn't happen, but it's an issue of written proof, and I don't really know many white families, if they found a ledger like that they would turn it into the local archives.
Right.
And Margaret, since you've written this book, what's it like in Birmingham? Do people come up and talk to you about it a lot? Do they want to discuss it with you more?
Yeah, I live in New Mexico, but I'm back in Alabama a lot, and I've been taking the book around the South, and I've been amazed at the response. It's been incredibly positive in different ways from all different kinds of audiences, but particularly older Southern white folks are really having a lot to say about it, and everybody, really. It's really positive. I think if it had come out 5 years earlier, it would have been a totally different story.
Well, thanks so much for doing this. So that's about all the time we have. We want to wish you best of luck on your next films, your next books. You got a lot going on, and we want you to thank your neighbor for not doing his backhoe while we did this interview.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you next time on Furious Fiction.